Palmer, thank you for your hard work, and take it away. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Speaker Johnson already said, today marks the 21st day of the Schumer shutdown. Democrats' political games are hurting hardworking Americans. This week, essential federal workers won't receive their paychecks because Democrats voted against paying them. That includes Border Patrol, CBP agents, TSA, FAA staff, DOD civilians, FEMA responders, and Capitol Police officers. The overwhelming majority of Americans oppose this Democrat shutdown. Democrats know it, so they're trying to distract from the fact that they shut down the government by pushing a false narrative about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Let me be clear. No one is protecting Epstein or his associates. The House Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough review of the federal government's handling of the Epstein investigation, one that goes far beyond the discharge petition the legacy media is obsessed with. To date, the Oversight Committee has released over 43,000 pages of documents and issued 13 subpoenas. We've conducted a deposition with former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr and a transcribed interview with former U.S. Labor Secretary Alex Acosta. I don't think I need to remind anyone in here, they are both Republicans and both former cabinet secretaries in the Trump administration. And guess what? Those interviews completely debunk the Democrat smear against President Trump. Barr stated that there was no evidence that President Trump was involved in Epstein's criminal activity. Acosta confirmed there was no contact with President Trump during the Florida case. No link, no conversations, nothing. Despite these facts, Democrats, especially Ranking Member Garcia, continue to spread lies about President Trump, and they are lies. They're infected with an incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome. Oversight Committee Democrats post daily about Epstein. In fact, they've posted or reposted about Epstein nearly 60 times on X since the shutdown began. You know how many times they posted about essential federal workers not receiving paychecks because they voted against funding the government? Once. They've posted about that once on the Democrat Oversight Committee and over 60 times about Epstein. You see where their priorities are. Let's be clear. Democrats don't care about transparency or accountability in this matter. The evidence we've gathered does not implicate President Trump in any way. Public reporting, survivor testimony, and official documents show that Bill Clinton had far closer ties to Epstein. We're working to bring former President Clinton in for a deposition, but the Democrats aren't helping one bit. You would think, since we've already brought two former Trump cabinet secretaries in, they would be willing to bring in a Democrat who's had publicly a far closer relationship with especially Maxwell and Epstein. So why is that? That's a question every reporter should be asking Ranking Member Garcia and every Democrat on the committee. Why aren't you helping to bring Bill Clinton in for an interview and deposition just like we brought in Barr and Acosta? The Oversight Committee remains committed to accountability and transparency for the American people and for Epstein's victims. Our investigation has not stopped during this shutdown. We've released more documents just this past Friday. Democrats need to stop playing games and vote to reopen the government. With that, I yield back to the Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, and truly appreciate the hard work you continue to do to get the facts out. And that's what this has always been about. We want to continue to get those facts out, and your committee has been working tirelessly to do just that. As we enter the third week of Chuck Schumer's shutdown, I think nobody can sum up just what is really going on better than the article yesterday in The Hill. You know, we've been saying up here for weeks that the real motivation behind the Democrat shutdown of the government is that they're afraid of the most radical far-left elements of the Democrat Party base. And yesterday, The Hill, in a pretty riveting article, laid bare the underbelly of the Democrat Party's motivation. It truly is fear of their own party's base that has driven the Democrats, especially in the Senate, to shut down the government. It's a calculated decision. And the continued votes, including yesterday, to keep the government shut down has been a direct result of the fear Democrats continue to have of their own party's base. Some of the most radical elements that you saw at the Hate America rally. We showed it up here on this dais yesterday with some of the most vile things that you saw. Many people that were holding signs calling for the death of the President of the United States. That's who Democrats in the Senate are most afraid of. And they're willing to inflict pain on millions of American families. And I think it's very important to understand what they're saying. There was one Senate Democrat aide who said people are going to get hammered by their liberal base if they vote to open up the government. So they're not concerned about the millions of families who are suffering because they're keeping the government shut down. They're just worried about getting hammered from their own base. And the speaker laid out some of this too. There was another senator who said, quote, they'd vote to open up the government yesterday if left to their own devices, but don't want to risk an angry backlash from their base. They'd be more than willing to do it. They know it's the right thing to do to open up the government, but they're scared to death of the backlash from the radicals in the Democrat Party. Another person said enough Democrats would vote to reopen the government, quote, if people were not terrified of getting the guillotine. You know what that means. When they're more scared of their own party's base, you talk about profiles in courage. That's what we're experiencing. And maybe the worst was this, because the speaker's gone over and over with some of the different states and the pain it's causing, not just here in Washington, but all around the country. In every state, there is real pain being inflicted. People that aren't sure if they're going to get another paycheck if they're working for the federal government. And there's a state, Georgia, that has a number of military bases, a lot of other federal workers. NIH is headquartered in the state of Georgia. And what is one of their senators, Senator Ossoff, thinking about all this? Another Democrat said, Senator Ossoff's calculation is, quote, do I vote to open the government up and get crushed and can't raise a single dollar of low dollar money? Or do I vote to shut the government down and get $3 million from online fundraising? That's disgusting. Senator Ossoff is more concerned about getting low dollar donations from maybe some donor in California who's going to click on an email and give him $100 for his reelection. And so he's causing suffering on tens of thousands of people in his home state of Georgia. Senator Ossoff ought to send that tainted, dirty money back. If he's raised $3 million off of the shutdown, off of the suffering he's caused, just so that he can get some more money from radicals around the country, go look at his finance report during the shutdown. The low-dollar donations that he's more concerned about getting than opening up the government, which is the right thing to do, because they're scared to death of their base, because they want to keep getting low-dollar donations from the most radical members of the Democrat Party. That's what this is about. And we've been saying it, but now that Hill article truly exposed it, with anonymous senators finally speaking freely, with other Democrat aides admitting what's really going on their side. And when they asked the speaker, gee whiz, is there something else you can offer? What is there to offer to a party who's so morally corrupt and bankrupt that they're willing to sell out the American people because they're either scared of their base or they want to just keep getting low-dollar donations from donors around the country who are rooting for chaos for America, who want to undermine this country? That's what's going on here. And the American people are figuring it out. People in Georgia are figuring it out. They know why they're seeing the suffering, and their own two senators are voting for that suffering, and now you know why. It's laid out in full display for everybody to see. We're here ready to get back to the people's work for all the American people, not just for some far-left radical base who's holding the Democrat Party in D.C. hostage. Finally show some courage, some moral clarity. All we need is 5 senators to stand up and do the right thing, and it's long past time they do it. Now our web, time Emmer.
Welcome to day